Perfect. Well, we can jump in. So let me do a brief introduction here of the kind of parties involved, and then we can hand it over to Jill here, the star of the show, to get us going. So kind of high level, two parties involved. So Gentle Transitions, obviously, and Jill Freeman, who you can see on your screen. They are really experts in helping people downsize, helping people move, and just work through, what can be a challenging and new transition in their life. Oftentimes downsizing from a home they've lived in for a long time, wondering where to start and how to kind of work through that process. So I've been through this presentation with her, and it's fantastic, and I think you'll take a lot from it. I will note too, the group that is sponsoring this is ThePOINTE Roseville. ThePOINTE Roseville, for many of you, I know you know about it, you've been there, you've toured there. It is a brand new active adult 55 plus community in Roseville, Minnesota. It opened just this last spring. It's filling very quickly. But what we often get from people as they're getting prepared to move in, there is Colleen, the manager of ThePOINTE Roseville, and we will have on here as well. But what we often get from people as they're getting prepared to move in, and Colleen actually just had this the other day, was somebody who said, okay, I'm excited about this. I'd love to make this transition, but man, do you know anyone who could help me think through the process of downsizing and help me just kind of wrap my head around that and understand where to start and how to go about this? So we like to sponsor this, put it on, bring Jill on, and give her a platform to some of our, potential residents, just about what that process should look like, and let her share that expertise. So to go a step further, we do have a promotion that we ran in December, and we are continuing here into January as well, where we will contribute $2,500 towards a resident's move into our community. So we know there's, a financial component to utilizing a service like this, or any mover, and we just want to make sure that's as smooth as possible and really not a barrier to entry for anybody. So if you did choose to move into ThePOINTE Roseville at some point in the future, we'd be happy to, contribute $2,500 to make that a smooth process for you, which we think Gentle Transitions is, certainly our pick to help you with that. So Colleen, I don't know if you have anything else, but if not, we can hand it over to Jill and let her run with it.
No, we can definitely hand it over to Jill. And I just wanted to also urge everybody, if they have any other questions regarding the point, keep them in mind, and maybe we can talk about them at the end. So enjoy Jill's production.
Yep, that's good. Thank you.
And a production it is. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us
I'll
today.
say one other thing. If you have questions, submit them through the Q&A. We will put those down. We'll stop at the end and make sure we have time to answer those. So we want this to be, back and forth, and for you guys to get any questions out. Final thing, we're recording this. We will send it out to you afterwards. So don't feel like you have to take a million notes. We want to get this into your hands and let you watch it slowly, and kind of soak it all in afterwards as well.
Excellent. And you will definitely have questions, or I haven't done my job. Because everybody's move is completely different. I'm Jill with Gentle Transitions, and I am what they call a sorter. A sorter is somebody that comes into your home and helps you go through closets and figure out what you need and what you don't need. It was great to hear Stephen say that Colleen has people coming in and they want to know if there's anybody out there that can help them with the moving process. And I can't tell you how many times we hear that, but Gentle Transitions has been around for 30 years. So people don't often know about us until it comes a time where they could use something like our services. So that's why I love to come out and talk to people. I have been with Gentle Transitions for about 5 years now, but I have been sorting for over 40 years. I was that kid who somebody called, was in the family that wanted to start downsizing and going through things. So it's always been a passion of mine. And I know that it's not easy. Even if somebody tells you it's as easy as throwing things away, it is not. So I'm glad you're here today to get some tips and some special tricks that we use that I'm gonna impart on you. Let me tell you a little bit about Gentle Transitions, because we are a senior move management company. And what that means is we have move managers that work with our companies. And I'll be telling you a little bit more about them. But they are the ones that come out, talk to you about the move, and figure out what kind of services you're looking for. They are the people that help you figure out what you're bringing, what you're not bringing, and then help you with resources to get rid of things. Then they are also the ones that hire the truck, pack you, unpack you, and put things back where they belong. So we are a full service company, and we are also able to customize our services to tailor make them to what you're looking for. So keep that in mind as I go along as well. And you might have some questions about that. I'm going to start with my favorite cartoon because I know that people are thinking of downsizing. Even if you're not going to move in 5 years, you should be starting to downsize. The sooner you do that, the sooner you will open up that space for a move someday down the line. This is a great cartoon. Let me just share it with you here. This is from the Star Tribune, and this is Jeremy. He just graduated college, and he's helping his mother put things in the attic. Here you go, Mom. Thanks, Jeremy. What is all this junk? Mostly things we're saving for you. These boxes are your elementary school papers and art projects. That trunk is where I store your middle and high school memorabilia. And we thought you'd want all this old furniture plus grandma's china cabinet and knickknacks for your first apartment. Notice the box of doilies and teapots. Mom, my first apartment will be a backpack that I carry around the world between gigs. And she looks at her son and she goes down to her husband and she says, our attic has been living a lie. So whether or not you have an attic, you may have a closet that you are saving things in that closet, piling them up for someday imparting them onto your children or giving them to people that can use them. And often we do that without a plan in sight. And that's where we start accumulating too much. And we have so much to deal with when we walk into a place like ThePOINTE and we take the tour and we love it and we get excited about it. And then we go home and we just look around and we think, oh my gosh, we're not going to be able to move for a year, 2. And that's where I come in. So why am I here today talking to you? Well, if you are overwhelmed at the thought of downsizing and moving, it's a number 10 on the psychological stress scale. That's only behind death and divorce. So if you are feeling clammy hands and heart palpitations when you go to a closet and start sorting, you're not alone. It is stressful. So I come out to spread the word that there is help out there for you to do that. We moved at Gentle Transitions over 1,200 people last year. So that equals over 30 years, a lot of experience. We are also smart enough to know that most people have family move them. So it's great for me to come out and share our tips and tricks with you and our process, because our process will be yours. And our whole mission at Gentle Transitions is to make your move less stressful by sharing our secrets. So our process is your process. Whether or not you hire a company like us, you are going to be doing it maybe on your own, but they are the same things that you'll be doing. Gentle Transitions always does a complimentary move assessment. What this is a free estimate. Our move manager comes out and they look around and they give you an estimate for the entire move. So they do a lot of the things that you would do on your own. And then if somebody wants, we help with the sorting. We help with the packing, the moving, the unpacking, and the resettling, which means putting back everything in its place. So why is downsizing and moving difficult for older adults? Well, we're often leaving a home of many years. When you moved in, maybe you've lived in your home for 60 years. It's the first home you've lived in. And when you moved in, you didn't have the furniture that you do now. You don't have the things that are in closets and storerooms. So that's why 60 years later, it can be really overwhelming. One of our clients, a dear man, was in his home for 97 years. It was the home he was born in, that he raised his family in, And now at 97, he wanted to move to a community to have more fun. But his home was known as the family home, where everybody brought the things they didn't want. And he ended up with a lot of things that weren't not only his, but his parents and his grandparents. Another challenge is physical. A lot of us have knees and backs that aren't what they used to be. And it's hard for us to do all the moving and the lifting. Number 3 would be emotional, which is probably for a lot of people the hardest, because we are attached not only to our homes, but to our things. The last one is children aren't always available. Maybe they don't live next door. Maybe they live in another state or in another country. I worked with a wonderful woman who said, my daughter lives in Colorado. She told me she's coming in this weekend and we're going to get it all done. You cannot do an entire house or apartment or condo in one weekend. That is way too stressful, and you'll make decisions that you may regret later if you're doing them so quickly. Some people maybe can work with their grandkids, but they don't want to work with their kids. So you have a lot of choices and a lot of help when you look to a company like Gentle Transitions. This is a book that I will often recommend. There are several out there, several good ones. I love this book because it was written by Marnie Jameson, Downsizing the Family Home, What to Save, What to Let Go. And the reason I bring it up is because a lot of people I speak to tell me that it was really helpful, because it is Marnie Jameson as she's downsizing her family home. And she talks about the emotional piece and gives great suggestions. And I came away with 7 things from her book that I want to share with you, because as a sorter, I come across these things often. Number 1, they're just things. Chances of us having something of incredible value, like antique roadshow value, is pretty rare. So in the end, when we distance ourselves a little bit from our things, we realize that they are just things. Number 2, age does not confer value. I have a lot of people that say, I have a lot of antiques. Well, antiques are 100 years old, but in order for them to have market value, meaning somebody wants to buy them, means they have to be rare and desirable. If it's something that during the 1950s everybody bought from the Sears catalog, there's going to be a lot of them out there. So somebody may not want to pay for that or as much as you think that it's worth. So think about that when you're thinking about value of your antiques. If you think you have something of rare value, then now is the time to have an appraiser look at it, because then you know, and that's much easier to make those decisions. Number 3, worth is a worthless term. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment because I want to show you something. This is between collections and collectibles. Collections are things we love. I collect flying pigs. I love flying pigs. My kids have already said they don't want the pigs. They're probably worth a dime a dozen, but I love them. Our collections are things that we accumulate, that we like the thrill of the hunt. We like to have them around us, but it's not something that our kids may want to take on or somebody else would want. So they might not be worth what you're thinking they're worth. If you have something that you know or think is collectible, have somebody look at it. Have an appraiser look at it. Some people, there was a time when a lot of people accumulated Hummels. And though they're beautiful and they're wonderful, a lot of them are not worth often what we paid for them. So you have to think about the people who's selling Hummels right now. Well, it's the people that collected them at the same time you did. So they're not buying them back. And that makes the value go down. I'm going to share my screen again. Number 4, wholesale versus retail. You will never get back what you paid for something. So most things don't increase in value, like cars, they don't increase in value. A lot of the things that we use don't increase in value. So keep that in mind. Number 5, condition matters for value and donation. If you're giving something to donation, a good rule of thumb is, would I give it to my children? If you wouldn't give it to your children, don't give it to donation. They're often trying to raise money for a cause, so they are going to resell it. And if it isn't up to par, it might be something that they would discard. Number 6, family history without provenance or certification may be wrong. So if you're holding on to something because the oral history in the family has told you that this is a rare and valuable item, but you don't have anything to show that that's the case, do your research and have somebody look at it. Because if it doesn't have that value or the history is wrong, it's a little bit easier to figure out what to do with it. Number 7, remember your goal when you're downsizing. You are opening up space for a move soon or a move in the future. You want to make your own decisions. The sooner you start downsizing, the decisions are yours. You don't want to leave those decisions with somebody else and have that taken away from you. You don't want to pass on that burden to your family. If you know you have things that you can part with or give to family members, do that now. And to make the transition easier and less expensive, you don't want to be bringing boxes of things that are just going to go back in the storeroom. That's a cost that you don't have to take on. And to get rid of those things before you move is really important. This is a great diagram. Why it's hard to let go of things. Because we often have our own reasons, and they're often different than our neighbors. In the middle is fears and pressures. This is because we are afraid we are the only ones that have too much stuff. And I tell you, that's not the case. And we feel pressure to start going through it, to start downsizing, either from ourselves or our family members. The outside bubbles are why we hold on to those things. One of them is memories. We hold on to things because we think if we let them go, we will lose that memory. And there are a lot of ways to keep those memories. One way is to take pictures of them. If you have a collection, take a picture of all those things and write little notes on the pictures or put it in a book. And then you don't have to take those items with you. The second is perceived value. We often have something that we think is our nest egg that we're going to sell at a certain time when we're ready. And that value has gone down over the years, and it's not what we think it is. So that's something that keeps us from letting go of something. The third thing is very Minnesotan. It's gifts. We hold on to things that people give us, even though we only put them out when they visit. You don't have to do that anymore. I often tell people, if you give something to someone, don't ask about it. Don't walk into their house and say, where is that I gave you? Because they may have enjoyed it for a long time and then decided to pass it on to someone else to enjoy. The next one is personal identity. We keep things because we want our family or our friends or our ancestors to know what we did. Don't keep those in bins. Take those out and start sharing them, even if you're sharing it with the grandkids now. Now is the time, so that they know the things you've done and they can ask questions about it. They won't just get an item and not have the stories surrounding it. The next one is probably one of the biggest for a lot of people: legacy items. These are things that our parents and our grandparents passed down to us. We said we would be good stewards of them. We would take responsibility for them. And when it's time to pass them down, we will do so. Well, now may be the time you're trying to pass them down and the kids are saying, no, thank you. That can be really hard because we promised to take care of them and now nobody wants them. That's something to sit down and think about. If you have items that they don't know the history of, they may not want them. Another quick story. When I got married, my mother-in-law asked me if I wanted the punch bowl. And I said, sure. She went in the closet, brought out this big thing wrapped in a blanket, unwrapped it, and it was the most beautiful two-piece punch bowl, crystal punch bowl set. And I said, that's lovely. And she said, I'm so glad you say that because it's from 1794. It had been passed down in her family, and every single person had wrapped it up and put it away. The kids didn't even know it was there. I took the punch bowl, and every event I have at my house, I have punch in that punch bowl. My 25-year-old daughter has already said, I want the punch bowl, because it's part of her history now. So start bringing out those items and talking about them. The more they hear the stories, the more apt they might be to want to keep those items. Listen here, mister, there's no such thing as too much Tupperware. All right, I'm going to stop it again because I want to show you something. This Cool Whip container is not Tupperware, even though this is mine, and we often have a drawer full of these things. This is not Tupperware. If you have Tupperware and Rubbermaid, those are wonderful things to keep. These are wonderful things to recycle, especially if you're moving. You do not want to pay to move 2 or 3 drawers of Tupperware. There is always more Tupperware in your future. You can always find it, but don't pay to move it. Even if you're staying in place for a year, go through your Tupperware. Make sure that you have maybe 10 pieces, that you have different sizes. They all have lids, and then recycle or donate the rest. A lot of people tell me they keep these things because they cook a lot and they want to give their grandchildren leftovers to bring home. I used to do that as well. Now what I do is I still cook a lot, but I tell my nieces and nephews, if you want leftovers, bring your own containers. And then I fill them up and they bring them home and I don't have to store them. So think about the things that you're storing like Tupperware containers. All righty. All right, the sorting process. Before you make your final decisions, evaluate your new lifestyle. This is often what I do as a sorter. I don't just come in and start going through your closets. We sit down and we start talking about how you use the items that you have, because that creates a dialogue in your head. As you start going through closets, you've already talked through what you need. And it's a little bit easier to make those decisions if you come across something you don't use as often. So think about these questions. Will you be doing your own cleaning? Well, if you're moving into a wonderful community where they come in and clean once a week or once a month, you won't have to bring all those items that you may have all over your house and under all your sinks. Will you be cooking? And has that changed? Well, maybe you used to make large meals. Maybe you used to have the holidays, and now you've passed that on to another generation, but you still cook a little bit and you still have people over. So you want to think about what things you still use. Maybe you can get away with a small, medium, and large frying pan instead of the 7 that is under in your cabinet. Another question is, will you be entertaining, and how will you be entertaining? As I said, maybe you used to do the holidays, but now you do book club, maybe poker night, maybe Bible study, and it's not a full luncheon anymore or a dinner. You just have snacks. So you don't need to keep all the things that you used to use for entertaining. The next one is very hard. Do you need all your seasonal holiday decorations? I asked a woman once, or someone raised their hand, because I asked, how many of you have one bin of holiday decorations? And her question was, do you mean one bin for every holiday? Some of you may have that, maybe more bins for each holiday. This is the time as we're starting to take down some of our holiday decorations, or we've put them out and we've seen what we have. This is the time to start going through them and giving things to donation, giving things to family, and only putting out next year the things you want to have pride of place, things you really want to highlight. Maybe you used to do many rooms in your home, but now you've gone down to maybe doing the living room, the kitchen, maybe the guest bathroom. So think about the areas that you're decorating and keep the appropriate amount for those items, for those areas. Will you be doing your own maintenance? Well, if you're moving into a wonderful community, that means they have a maintenance person and you don't have to take your entire workshop. Most of my clients, if they are moving and downsizing, we usually put together a toolbox full of hammer, nails, things that you need for picture hanging, and little items like that. I told you a little bit about the complimentary assessment. This is when the move manager comes out, and our move managers are not salespeople. They consider themselves educators. They come out and talk about your move, ask what kind of help you're looking for, if we need to tailor make it or we need to do the whole thing. And they will ask you questions, give you resources, and they will leave you with an estimate of our services and also the truck, because we work with only certain trucking companies that we've vetted and we've worked with over the last 30 years. Then when somebody looks at the estimate, gets their estimates and decides to use us, that same move manager, because they're going to follow you through the whole process. I always describe them as the wedding planners of the move, because we all know what wedding planners do. They handle all the details. So this is your go-to person that helps you with those decisions. When somebody wants us to come back and help them, that same move manager comes back and they're going to get your floor plan. So if you're moving to the point, they're going to get the floor plan of the apartment that you're moving into. Then they will walk through your home with you and decide what is going in your floor plan and what is going to fit in your floor plan. That's a big piece. So if you're doing the move yourself, you want to make sure you measure, measure, measure. Measure your cupboards, measure the depth and the width, measure your closet rods so you know how many clothes you can bring. Use that floor plan as your primary reference. Here's 20 bucks. Make sure the plaid chair never gets there. We've actually had this happen. I love the cartoon because it reminds me to tell people when you're doing your floor plan, make sure you start in the room that you spend most of your time in. So if you spend a lot of time in your den, you want to recreate that. You want to bring the chair that you watch the news in next to the table with the lamp on it that you can turn on without looking. That keeps your stress level down, and it will make it so much easier to acclimate yourself to a new space when you have your familiar items around you. So now you're ready to start going through closets, whether with myself or one of our downsizers or on your own. I always make a trash box. I put together a little box and put a trash bag inside because you don't want to be stooping up and down throughout the whole process. You'll get really tired. It's easy to have an open garbage to just throw things into. Then I make a box or a bag, just grocery bag, with each child's name on it or grandchild, whoever I'm going to find things for that I want them to look at. Then as you go through the process and you find something, maybe it's Janie's yearbook, and you say, well, I'll ask her about it. You don't stop your process. You can go right to her bag and put it in. And then tell the kids they have to come and look at their bags, give them a deadline. And once they've gone through it, the things they leave behind, you can just pick up the bag or the box, put it in your car and take it to donation. You also want to create a hazardous box. A hazardous box is for the old paint that you have in your storeroom, the cleaning supplies you may have under each sink. We often will use cleaning supplies, and if they don't work, we don't get rid of them. We just keep accumulating them. Now is the time to put those in a hazardous box. Put that box in your car and then take it to every county has a recycling center, hazardous waste recycling center. And you can look them up online or give them a call. It doesn't cost anything to drop off hazardous materials. You pull in just like you would, you give them your driver's license so they know, or ID, so they know you live in that county. And then you drive in, the wonderful people there will just take the things out of the back of your car and away you go. Wonderful way to get rid of paint. Don't save that paint at your house thinking that somebody's going to use it, because most people come into a new place and want to do their own painting. The sorting process at Gentle Transitions, we use dots. The kind of dots that you see at a garage sale, we use green, yellow, and red. This is a communication tool that our move managers use for the packing crews. So if you're moving yourself, get some of these dots, because it will be wonderful to communicate what you want to be packed for family members or people that are helping you. We use red dots for things that are not going with you, maybe things that are broken that need to be tossed or gotten rid of. We use yellow dots for things that you might be putting in your floor plan if you have room, but you're not sure. Maybe you have a couple lamps that you still haven't decided on, and I put yellow dots on them. And then once you get your floor plan all done and you have extra lamps, you'll know that those yellow dots on those lamps mean they can be donated or family can look at. The green dots are wonderful because we put them on things that are going with you. Lamps, pictures that are hanging on the wall. I use green dots when I'm a sorter, when I go through a kitchen. So if I start in a cupboard, and I always start a kitchen and then move clockwise. Take everything out of a cupboard and only put back those things that you use on a regular basis. And then everything else family can look at, you can leave for an estate sale, or you can bring to donation. Once you've gone through your kitchen, you will have green dots on all the cupboards that you're packing and moving with you. So if a family member is helping you pack, you don't have to stand over them while they do that. You can just say, in the kitchen, pack all the cupboards that have green dots. It's a great communication tool and keeps our blood pressure down so we don't have to make last minute decisions. So the greens are not only the things you're bringing with you that are regular items, but they can also be those heirlooms and maybe photos, boxes of photos. That's one of the questions I get a lot about photos. Several people say, I have boxes of loose photos. I have lots of photo albums that are empty. And at some point, I'm going to put them all in albums when I have more time. You don't have to do that. What I would do is start going through the box of loose photos. Put it down near your chair that you watch the news at with a photo pen and a garbage. Start going through them, and if the people in the picture you know and it's not identified on the back, write their name on the back. If it's landscape or people you don't know and nobody else would know, then that's something you could throw away because nobody's going to know who that is or as it goes down through the generations. If you have a lot of boxes, sometimes that can be overwhelming. So get a shoebox and just put some pictures in there and go through it maybe once an evening and do it shoebox by shoebox and then put it in the box and leave it for the kids. The kids are probably going to digitize it anyway. So that's a great thing to do with photos. The yellow stuff that you've now noted you're not taking with you, maybe are going to estate sales, have antique appraisers look at, bring to consignment, give to family or charitable organizations. And I'll just go through these quickly. Only about 5% of people we move, that means 1,200 last year, only 5% had an estate sale. This is because estate sale people want you to have enough stuff that they value because they're going to get paid first. So you want to check out at least 2 or 3 of them to make sure that they're professional, that you like them. They've been in the business for years. They have appraisers to help. And how do they advertise your sale? Do they use social media? Make sure they're licensed and insured, and that they set up and they clean up. Excuse me. Charitable organizations, there's several. One of the ones that we love at General Transitions is Bridging. They help people out of homelessness and poverty start apartments when they have nothing. So they want the basic things: lamps, love seats, dishes, things like that. You want to ask that organization if they pick up, if they're larger items, maybe they charge a fee for that. You also want to ask them what they accept, because they'll often have a list of things that they don't, and get a tax slip. Sometimes people sell things on social media, eBay, Craigslist. I'm really into right now my neighborhood app, which is called Nextdoor. I will often have it on my phone, and I'll take a picture of something and put it out there for my neighbors to see if they want to buy it or take it on for free. That's a wonderful thing to do. And if you're not tech savvy that way, find a grandkid that can help you. They would love to do that. The reds are maybe those broken things that you're not taking with you but aren't nice enough to bring to donation. A lot of people are getting these bagsters. There's those big green bags you see at the end of people's driveways. You buy the bags at Home Depot, Menards, any hardware store for about $29. You put them up in your driveway, and they give you a diagram and show you how to do that. Very, very easy. And you can throw almost anything into these except hazardous and electronics. You can throw old toilets. You can throw all that scrap wood you have in your garage. They're wonderful when you're clearing out a garage, because once you fill it up, you call or get online and have them pick it up within 3 days. Depending upon where you live, it could cost about $100 or so to have it picked up. But you have to balance that by, are you able to get your whole garage cleared out in a weekend and throw it in the bagster? So some of those charges are worth it. At Gentle Transitions, we hire your mover because we vetted the ones that we work with. If you're hiring your own mover, you want to make sure they're local and residential. They've been in the business for years. Even check them on the Better Business Bureau. You want to make sure they're bonded and insured and licensed. Another thing I tell people to ask is ask your movers, have they moved people to where you're moving before? Because if you're moving into a community and they've never moved people in before, and they have to unload at one end and your apartment is on the other end, and they can only use one elevator, if they don't know that ahead of time, that is going to add time to your bill. So ask them if they know the policy of where you're moving into. So Gentle Transitions works with communities all over the Twin Cities. We know the policy of each place that we move people into. So if you're moving to The Point, we would call, make sure we know their policies, and that goes into your estimate so that we know it's going to take more time or less time. Gentle Transitions packs and moves in 2 days. The first day is pack day. That's when the move manager shows up with the pack team, and whoever is packing your kitchen is going to unpack it the next day. That means that they're paying attention to where you like things, like spices, and they're going to try and recreate that in your new place. We can pack up a house in 4 to 6 hours that's been downsized, because we do it all the time, and we have certain systems that we use that make it very efficient. So that is pack day. And once we packed your house, the next day is resettle day. That means in the morning, your move manager shows up. They pack up all the bedding and things you used the night before, maybe a few things in the fridge. And then the guys arrive with the truck and start loading all the boxes. When it's time to go to the new place, your pack team from the day before shows up and starts unpacking the boxes that they packed. This is very efficient and it takes less time because they know what they packed and they know where it goes. We make the beds, we put the clothes in the closets, we plug in all the lamps, we set your clocks, we get your computer going, and we will hang the artwork so that when you come at the end of the day to look at your place, it is all done. You're ready to start living in your new place and not going through boxes over weeks and weeks. One of the things Gentle Transitions is known for is photographing and replicating. Everybody on the pack team carries an iPhone or an iPad. And if you have a china cabinet, we know that you've taken a long time to set it up exactly the way that you want it. We don't want to redesign your area. So we take pictures of each shelf. And when that cabinet gets to your new place and it's been polished, then we put back things in the exact same place. You want to do that yourself if you're moving on your own. You can take pictures for proof of condition. That means taking pictures of glass in cabinets. If you have cabinets or pieces of furniture with very fragile legs, take a picture of those. Because that will be your proof of condition if something happens to those items during the move. You can prove that it was not broken beforehand. Gentle Transitions, we've all been trained on how to pack. So when we pack you up, things are put in boxes in a certain way so that they transport well and everything makes it to your new location. Because you don't want to be going through boxes. You don't want to be taking care of getting glass put back in a cabinet. So take pictures of your items. We even take a picture of your refrigerator. If you're like me, you have things on your refrigerator. I have calendars, I have pictures. Sometimes people have invitations. Very often people have doctor's appointments or phone numbers, phone lists. And it's really hard when you move, you're trying to acclimate to a new space and you have to take the dog to the vet, but you can't remember where you put the phone number because you're so used to seeing it on your refrigerator. That is something that we do. We take a picture of the fridge and we put everything back exactly as it was. So that when you had to take the dog to the vet and you go to your refrigerator, that phone number is going to be there. That is how we get you to your new place with the least amount of stress. One day, son, all this will be yours. This is what you don't want to be. I'm hoping this is a garage and not a storage area because we have a lot of clients that have offsite storage as well. Start doing your downsizing now. It's really important. The sooner you do it, the decisions will be yours and they won't be taken away from you. You will decide where your items go and make those decisions. You will be able to decide what family members are going to get things. Start giving them to people now for birthdays, for holidays. If you're thinking long-term, maybe you're not moving for a year or so. This is a great time to start noting those items. Leave little notes on them. If you can't share that with them now, write little stories and put them in that item. That's a wonderful way that my mother-in-law shared things with us. A lot of the sterling and the crystal. Bringing up sterling and crystal. A lot of people ask me, what do I do with it? My kids don't want the sterling. Well, a lot of people don't want sterling now because they don't want to polish it. And the market is inundated with it. Sometimes you can bring it to someone and they will buy it just for the silver content. If you have things that you think are silver, but they end up being silver plated, which in the 50s, a lot of people switched over from sterling to silver plated items. That's something that does not hold a lot of monetary value. I can share a personal story that I just brought a huge tray that was given to us from an ancestor. It ended up being just silver plated metal. And what they do is just give you money for how much it weighs. So if you think a lot of those items are nest egg items and things that are worth a lot of money, check that out now. Do the research. Get one of your family members to help you with that research. I had a wonderful client one summer work with her grandson, and they had a little cottage industry going on where they were selling things on eBay and Craigslist, and you can spend time with them and they can also help you downsize. If you are part of a couple where one of you wants to downsize and the other doesn't, don't do it together. It's really hard to do that and get things done. Do it on your own, do it with a professional like myself, or do it with a family member. And I can tell you that grandkids are wonderful to downsize with because they don't judge. They love to hear the stories. They have the muscle to help you get things to the Goodwill. They're just it's a wonderful way to start downsizing with family members. So keep that in mind when you start going through those closets. And remember, you do not want to be the person in this cartoon that has too much stuff and is just leaving it for his family. This is our team of move managers at Gentle Transitions. And I've left time for questions. If you have them, you can put them in the chat, and I will stop sharing my video at this point.
That was great, Jill. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
It's wonderful. I'm sure we have questions. No question is a bad question. So anyone who has any, there's a little Q&A section at the bottom. Please submit it. We will relay it here to Jill and would be happy to answer it.
Why don't I go through a few things just in case people are thinking about what to write or
Sure.
writing it down. A lot of people ask us about resources, that they have mattresses, they have silver, they have coins. At Gentle Transitions, we have many, many resources. And if you're looking for somewhere to bring something, give us a call and just ask us if we know who is taking those items. Another resource to go to is Bridging, which I mentioned, but they have a wonderful website, bridging.org. And in their website, you can see they have a donation list that you can click on. They do it every year. They update it every year. And it is a list of different organizations that take donations, and across, they check off the things that they take. That's a fantastic way to, in one place, find where you can bring items. It's bridging.org.
That's perfect. Yeah, I know we got some questions about that last time and
Yeah.
a number of other items. So I think, I mean, I could start. I know we got a question last time. I think a lot of people have trophies probably. What did we say people typically do with trophies? I thought that was an interesting question.
Oh, yes. Trophies, a couple things you can do. Hold on, I'm not sure why this is. There we go. Trophies, you can give trophies to Goodwill, places like that. Often people will, especially during the hockey season, at the end of hockey season, end of baseball season, end of gymnastics, they'll do banquets, and they'll go through and get a lot of the trophies from Goodwill and the different places, and they'll use them as centerpieces, and then they'll bring them back. So they can obviously be recycled. There's also a wonderful place called Leonardo's Basement. It's a place in Minneapolis that has classes for adults and kids during the summer that teaches them how to use power tools. And the kids go to camps where they get to create really interesting things. They will be looking for tools in really good condition. They'll be looking for all kinds of trophies, things that they can cut down and use in creative ways. That's a great resource, is Leonardo's Basement.
That's perfect. And we did get a question here. So for people who are not planning to move in the near future, can you customize help so that it focuses on downsizing only and helps make that happen over a longer period of time?
Yes. We have just downsizing services. I have 2 clients right now, both of which I have worked with for a year and a half. We get together maybe once every 2-3 weeks. And sometimes it's as easy as calling us and getting a downsizer to come out and helping you just get started. Often people will call and say, I don't know where to start, what to do, how to start the process. And having a downsizer come in and help you make a plan. And then we can help you throughout the whole process, or we can just get you started. At Gentle Transitions, when you want to do just downsizing, there is no contract. It's a 3-hour minimum. So what people often will do say, well, I'll try you out for 3 hours. I'll try you out for 6 hours. Have somebody come out, work with you, and then you can always decide if it's beneficial or if you've gotten all the information you can, or if you want to continue. So there's no contracts, and you can just have downsizers come out. Sure.
That's perfect. It's very cool. One individual asked, can you give us an idea of the cost of the services? How does the pricing work?
It's hard to give someone I can give you an idea. It's hard to get close because everybody's home is different, and a 5-bedroom house that hasn't been downsized, or sorry, a 2-bedroom house that is packed could be more expensive than a 5-bedroom house that's been downsized. So downsizing makes a huge piece of that. So let's say you're moving to a 1-bedroom. Maybe you're looking at $2,500 to $3,500, somewhere in there. That is why the move manager coming out to do a free assessment, it doesn't cost anything to call Gentle Transitions and say, could you send somebody out that could give me an estimate, even a year before you move? Because then you have an idea of the cost, and they can look at your home and assess your own particular needs. So that's really good, because they'll leave you with an estimate, and that'll be tailor-made to your situation.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll provide Jill's contact information after this too. So if you wanted a more accurate quote, you could certainly reach out to her.
Oh, sure. Or just one of the best ways is to just call the office. That's the 952-944-1028 number. And we can share that with you too, but I thought I'd just make sure it's on the video. That's our home office, and they can answer any questions for you.
Perfect.
And I, of course, love to help you in any way I can.
Great. What other questions do we have? We can take a couple more if people have them, but either way, this has certainly been a fruitful time, I think.
Excellent. Looks like we might have one more. Let's see. Oh, how about someone with
No children, maybe?
no children? I'm not sure what the question is, but we do have a lot of clients that don't have family members to help them. And often that's where a downsizer can really help. Sometimes I'll talk to people and they'll say, well, you know, I don't have the money for a downsizer, or I don't want to spend that money, or is there anybody else who could help me? Sometimes I direct people to their churches and their youth groups, or asking the youth pastor if they have somebody that wants to help. That's a great way to find people that can lug things to the Goodwill for you, or help you go through closets and things. That's a great resource, is checking out your church.
It's great advice.
What about books? Oh, thank you, Joyce, for asking that. Because a lot of people have lots and lots of books. I just recently had a client that had 40 boxes of books that we needed to donate. And there is a place called, you can check them out online, called Rain Taxi, RAIN Taxi, TAXI. And they have a sale once a year. They're a literary group, but they sell books. And they will often, depending upon how much you have, they'll come and pick them up. But you can talk to them, get their name online, Rain Taxi. And if you have a lot of books you need to go through, maybe start putting them in books, putting them in a place in your house where they can kind of pile up the boxes, and then have somebody come pick them up. Maybe you have to pay somebody, but then they just come one time to bring them to donation. And if you have things like first editions, you'd want to have somebody take a look at those. Luther Auctions is a wonderful place for resources like that. I hope I answered your question about books.
That was great. Well, we can wrap it up there. As I said, we did record this. We will send out the recording and give everyone a follow-up email. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time to come. Jill, thank you for doing this. It was excellent as always, and we hope it was beneficial for everybody who came. So I'm sure other questions will come up, and you'll have the opportunity to ask those afterwards to her or us here. And yeah, once again, thank you for coming, and look forward to an email from us here shortly.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.